Hey guys, how's it going? So if I were to describe to you a country that had secret police, secret laws and regulations that were changed just on the whims of the rulers, without the people's consent, without the people's knowledge, passing secret laws in the middle of the night, well, it depends when you grew up. You might be thinking the USSR or the KGB, or you might be thinking of countries like North Korea. Well, we're going to talk about the United States. And my most recent video, just 2 days ago, was about a 2,700 page omnibus bill that was essentially skirted through in the middle of the night. It took a whopping 48 hours to pass that bill through both chambers of Congress, the House and the Senate. And it does have gun control in it. And I've talked about that. Also, secret regulations. Yeah, that's the United States too. So you guys probably already know that the ATF has been changing their mind and changing the way that they are going to rule and regulate. These are called regulations. Keep in mind, if you break these regulations, up to 10 years in prison. We think of things like bump stocks, pistol braces, what is a frame, what is a receiver, and more recently, solvent traps and silencers. And what would be the difference between the two? Well, actually, the ATF has long held different differences and distinctions, and I'm about to give you guys over 50 pages of documents that were shared with me by my friends at Gun Owners of America. I'm going to go over these in just a second. We also have a letter from the United States Senate that I discussed briefly in my stream last Friday. I'm going to take in a few excerpts from that. And there's also a great video by GOA that I'm going to link down in the description. You're going to be able to find this letter down in the description, as well as these new secret regulations. I'm going to link to that too. See, the ATF, through documents obtained by GOA, has been running secret regulations that were purposely misleading, purposely held from the public eye, and marked as law enforcement use. And they're talking about that in this letter from the United States Senate. Lots of links down in the description, guys. Make sure you go there. So what's going on here? A solvent trap. It's something that you could screw to the muzzle of a firearm and use it for, well, as a solvent trap. When you're cleaning your barrel, the solvent, instead of having it go all over the floor or go in the garbage can, which might not be the best way to dispose of it, you could collect the fluid. Now, you could also take this solvent trap and fill out what's called a Form 1, which is a fancy way of saying paperwork for you to manufacture your own firearm silencer. Send it off to the ATF, pay a $200 tax stamp, get it approved, and turn your solvent trap into a silencer. Well, little did people know until they started getting a bunch of denials recently and all kinds of crazy stuff going on with that the ATF is secretly holding that they're actually changing their definition without even telling people the regulation, the rules. Now, these are serious things. I get it, guys. The Constitution says Congress makes law. But these regulations, these have penalties, and ATF is law enforcement. And they do have guns, and they do come to people's houses, things like that. And we've seen some horrific events in the past. Think about Waco, Ruby Ridge, just to name a couple. So they have these secret regulations that you guys will be able to get from Gun Owners of America's website. And I'm going to read just a little bit from this letter from the United States Senate that's basically an inquiry demanding answers from the ATF. They're saying, despite the significant criminal consequences attached to the unlawful manufacture, sale, and possession of NFA items, ATF has never issued any public guidance differentiating a silencer from a solvent trap, or informing the public that it considers certain forced reset triggers to be machine guns, which that's another big thing lately, all of a sudden instantly out of thin air. Notwithstanding the glaring absence of any such public guidance, the classification of a solvent trap as a silencer is contrary to the plain language of the law, 18 U.S.C. 921A 24. In addition to the ATF's threatening letters, it has recently come to our attention that the ATF has formulated secret internal guidance documents to assist ATF personnel tasked with differentiating so-called solvent traps from firearm silencers to assist with identifying certain machine gun devices commonly referred to as FRTs. All right, there's been quite a bit of coverage about the triggers. They're very important. I'm going to talk about the silencers for a little bit. Apparently, if you have what's called the end cap, they're calling the end of a solvent trap, even if it has just a little dimple, a little witness mark, just a marking, they're going to now call that an end cap for a silencer. And if you know anything about how silencers work in the National Firearms Act, any part of a silencer becomes a silencer. And yes, we commonly call them suppressors, but the legal verbiage for it in the actual statute is silencer, and they're referred to as silencers and mufflers. The problem is the law doesn't say that if it is of a certain shape and it just has a little mark on it, that it instantly becomes a silencer, and the general public didn't know that either. I have about 50 pages of documents here, guys. I printed all of these out on paper so I could have a hard copy, and there's lots of information in here, so you'll be able to compare this with the new secret regulations that the ATF put out. I don't have a way to share an actual PDF because I have a PDF file for all of this here on YouTube. So I'm going to share that over on my Locals. Locals is another site. It's censorship free. I do tons of other content too there. So you guys are going to want to be there anyways. So I'm going to leave a link to that post. You guys can join free over there, or you can support. And you guys can look at all of these pages that were acquired via the Freedom of Information Act by Gun Owners of America. Read the secret regulations, links in the description, then go to my Locals link down there in the description. I'll probably put it in the pinned comment too, just to help you guys find it easier. And do some comparing and contrasting, and I think you're going to find this startling. And this is literally crazy. This is people ruling outside the rule of law. This is law enforcement enforcing regulations that are contrary to actual law that was passed by Congress, signed by presidents in the past. Now look, all gun control is unconstitutional, and any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. That's what Marbury v. Madison Supreme Court decision said. But even with all of that, even with all of the unconstitutional firearms laws we have now, that's still not enough. They're reinterpreting them with their own secret regulations. Like, just think about this. The goal, in my opinion, is you don't know that you broke the law till you already got caught, and they're already seizing property and already trying to indict you and press charges as a felon. 10 years in prison. It kind of reminds me of laws in the past. You guys remember the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare? Pelosi said, well, we have to pass the law before you can read what's in the law. In this case, people trying to make their own silencers, forced reset triggers, okay? Completely lawful ways to purchase both. A little bit more procedure involved with the silencer. But I digress. You basically have to try it and find out. You'll think that you're following the letter of the law, only to find out there's secret regulations that you don't know about. And when we talk about these things, you think of the word tyranny and you think of the word tyrant. Well, I'm going to read a common dictionary definition of the word tyrant. A tyrant, in modern English usage of the word, is an absolute ruler who is unrestrained by law, or one who has usurped a legitimate ruler's sovereignty, often portrayed as cruel tyrants, may defend their positions by resorting to repressive means. Crazy stuff going on. Check out the GOA video. Check out the links to the letter from the senators, the secret regulations over on GOA's website, and then my Locals post, which has this big fat stack of Freedom of Information Act documents that GOA shared with me and said I could share with all of you. That's going to talk about all kinds of past opinions that they've had on what makes a silencer. Do the research. You might find it rather startling. All right, thanks for watching, and have a good one.